Oi, what have I gotten myself into this time? Chapter 15, A Newfound Power. Emerging from the water temple, Link and I ascended from Lake Hylia and into the bright sunlight. The storm had stopped and all was quiet. We held onto each other as we made our way to our horses. Midnight Star and Star Dancer had found themselves some grass to gnaw on that had pushed its way up through the snow. Bullshit! You said it was the worst weather in 20 fucking years. There is no way the horses could have done that. Do you have any idea how deep snow can get in snowstorms? We're not even a minute in. We pushed our way through the deep snow and up to our awaiting horses. Link helped me into my saddle, then he removed the iron boots and replaced them with his regular ones. Buckled the Master Sword around his back, fastened his saddlebags, then mounted Midnight Star. Looking back at me one last time, he smiled. "Oh, by the way, my love, I managed to retrieve these." Raising his hand, he held up my phoenix circles. I looked up at him with a smile, then took the weapon and fastened it to my belt. Then I nodded I was ready. I glimpsed back at the lake one last time before we booted our horses in the legs. "Stop hitting your horses in the damn legs, woman!" And headed for home, leaving the water temple behind. When we reached home, we dismounted and ushered the horses back into the stable. Finally, she does it herself. Then we went into the house. After we walked in, Ruto... Seriously? After we walked in, I saw Ruto sitting by the fire with our little son. When she looked up at us, her eyes grew big with shock. "Oh my goddesses! What the hell happened to you two?" Removing the tattered Zora tunic, I staggered over to the couch and sat down. "Oh, now you remember you were wearing a Zora tunic. A little late now that I know you ruined that fucking dress." God, what is happening to my life? "We got the shit beat out of us," I replied darkly. I watched as Link removed his damp cloak and scabbard, then staggered over to the couch and sat beside me. "Got the shit beat out of you? By who?" Ruto questioned, again with worry and shock. I looked directly into the Zora's concerned eyes. "It's a long story, Ruto. Are you sure you're up for it?" She nodded back in response. After we explained about our terrifying experience in the water temple, Ruto's eyes stared at us in pure shock. "Oh my goddesses. Jenna, you have power over the elements," Ruto said with shock in her voice. "I'm not sure. I have no memory of the events Link described to me. The last thing I remember, I was being knocked into the tree after Dark Link broke through my defenses. But Link said I destroyed his counterpart inside a Hue energy ball." I sighed, shaking my head. "I still don't understand it. I never had powers like that before." "Maybe they were dormant until now," Ruto added. "It's a possibility," Link said. "Oh my god, will you please space out the dialogue into separate paragraphs?" You have a point, but I wonder what could have activated it," I responded skeptically. "Maybe it was activated through the immense anger you experienced when Darklink attacked you," Link said as he took a sip of his honey tea. I pondered the thought, wondering if that could have been what happened. But it still sounded too far-fetched. How does your suspension of disbelief even work? "I think I should go see Princess Zelda tomorrow. Maybe she can help answer this," I said as I looked at Ruto. "Well, I think that is a wise decision. Maybe she can help," Ruto said as Link nodded in agreement. Looking over at Link, his eyes seemed to glow with anticipation. For a moment I was able to read his mind through them, only to have the connection break. "Well, it's been a long day. I'm tired and I want to get cleaned up. Let's call it a day," I said as I eyed Link over.
"Hey, phrase it!"
"You can stay here tonight, Ruto." "Oh, great, you want her to listen while you fuck in the other room. That's just fucking fantastic." "I still don't think it would be wise for you to head back to Zora's domain until morning," I said as I handed Ruto a pillow and blankets. Thank you kindly, Ruto returned appreciatively as she took the blankets from me and proceeded to make a place for herself by the fire. I'm going to send Lily and Navi to sleep down here tonight. If you should need anything, they'll get it for you, I said as Ruto nodded in return. Yawn. Well, I'm heading up. Coming, Link? I asked tiredly. Yes, my love, I need to clean up as well, he said as he ascended the stairs behind me. As I prepared my bath, Link was busy removing the tattered clothes from his body. Fuck. While I watched the water swell in the tub from the heat, I begun to think what Link said. The notion that I might have powers over the elements frightened me, since I had no idea if I would even be able to control such power. I just hoped that if I had such power, that I would be able to take control of it. When the water was ready, I removed my tattered and torn dress and called for Link to join me. Slipping down into the water, it was a relief to finally remove the dust and dirt from my body. I slipped over to Link and into his muscular arms. I huddled against him as he took the wash rag and began to clean my wound and scrub away the dried blood. As I lay there inside Link's strong arms, I felt secure, felt protected. Even in the light of what befell us that day, I was glad that I went with him. Oh my God, will you just move on? Who knows what might have happened if I didn't. He could have still been prisoner to his evil counterpart, or he could have just killed it himself without your interference, you dumb bitch! Even though everything that happened that day still haunted me, it haunted my dreams. And that night was the first night when sleep evaded me. There you go, folks. If you need more proof that this was not a wet dream of hers, well, you know what I mean, not an actual dream she had, then, well, I can't get any more definitive than that. Morning came, and the morning sun washed through the window and into the room. I opened my sleepless eyes and stirred out of bed. I walked over to the crib where our son laid. His sweet little face was so innocent as he slept peaceful in his crib with his fairy Arya snuggling next to him. Blow me, lady. I reached in and gently brushed my fingers across his soft cheek, smiling to my son as I watched him sleep. I love you, my son. I don't know what would have happened if you lost us. A single tear trickled down my face. Don't worry, my son. The face of death isn't going to keep us away from you, I said as I gently placed a little kiss on his forehead. Rising, I walked over to the other side of the bed where Lynx was sleeping and knelt down beside him. Taking my hand, I gently brushed his fine blonde hair out of his eyes and placed my lips close to his. Softly, I kissed his firm lips, tasting the honey still on them from the tea he drank the night before. Then a glint caught my eye as he opened his beautiful jeweled eyes. Hi.
Oh, hi.
I said to him softly. Hi, he whispered back. We should head over to the castle soon, I said, kissing him again. Stirring out of bed, Link yawned, then got up and went to dress his bandages while I went to check on Ruto and prepare breakfast. Descending the staircase, I saw Ruto's sleeping form on the floor in front of the fire. Glancing around the room, I noticed Lily and Navi sleeping on the mantel in the fireplace. Softly, I called out for our fairies. Lily, Navi, wake up! Stirring, Lily looked over at me. Then sleepily she got up and flew over. Oh, what's wrong, Jenna? She said as she muffled a yawn. Nothing, I just wanted to know how Ruto was doing. Did you sleep well last night? I questioned, concern filling my eyes. She did fine. The only thing she asked for in the middle of the night was she needed some water to wet her body, since she remained too long out of the water. Is she okay now? I questioned Lily. Just then Ruto stirred awake as she sat up, her sky-blue eyes watching us. Morning. How do you feel, Jenna? Ruto questioned as she muffled a yawn. Still a little sore, but I didn't sleep well. That day is still haunting me. My face faltered as I felt the effects of that day coming back again. Okay, so did this happen overnight, or is this the following day after you slept? What time is it? Rising and walking over to me, Ruto put a hand on my shoulder as she sought to give me comfort. I think it would be wise if you and Link headed to the castle soon. The Zora returned without a worried glance. Maybe you're right. But what about you? Aren't you still weak? A look of concern crossed my face as I eyed her over.
Phrasing?
Don't worry about me, Jenna. I can manage. You and Link have already done enough. Nodding, I hugged the gentle Zora. "Thank you, Ruto," I said happily as she smiled back. After breakfast, Link and I saddled the horses and headed for the castle. With one last look back, I waved to Ruto as she disappeared into the temple leading back to Zora's domain. "I think we should get going," Link said as he glanced over at me. I secured Link Jr. in his portable carrier, then booted Star Dancer in the legs, "Stop doing that!" and followed Link. Snow kicked up behind our horses' powerful hooves as they dug into the ground, unearthing it. Leaving the Lost Woods and entering Hyrule Field, I saw that snow still blanketed most of everything, and a slight winter chill lingered in the air. I felt my body heat up as the cold tingled my senses. Getting nervous, I urged my mare to move faster. I watched as Hyrule Castle started to loom over us. Approaching it, the drawbridge lowered and we proceeded to cross. The sound of our horses' hooves made a clopping sound as we crossed the wooden bridge. Upon entering the marketplace, I heard it bustling with activity as people went about their daily wares. We slowed our horses to a trot and headed for the gates to the castle. The sound of their hooves made a click sound on the stone pathway as we went. When we reached the first gate, I saw my good old friend Perino was on duty. "Hello, my old friend, how are you?" I called out to him, smiling back to me as he spoke. "Hello, Mistress Jenna, I've been fine. Do you wish to see the princess today?" Nodding in response, he raised the gate and allowed us to pass. "Thanks, my friend," I said as we rode past. We went up the small path that led to the main gate. When we reached it, the guards opened it and then went to summon Princess Zelda. Upon her arrival, she wore a surprised look. "What brought you here in this terrible cold?" she questioned. "Zelda, we have to talk. It's important," Link said sternly. Her expression changing, she called the stable hands to take our horses to the stable, fucking of course, then let us inside. Then we were to take into the study. Once there, Jenna ordered for the servants to bring refreshments and warm blankets. Link and I sat down on a cushioned couch while Zelda sat in a chair across from us. "So tell me, what is such of importance that you two came all this way here in the chilling cold weather with your son?" Zelda questioned, worry cracking in her voice. "It's about Jenna, Princess. We had a, disturbing encounter in the water temple yesterday," Link said solemnly. "What? The water temple? What were you two doing in there?" Zelda cried, her eyes wide with shock. "It's a long story, my friend. Do you have the time?" Link asked. "I have all the time in the world," Zelda replied, crossing her arms. After we told her about our encounter with Dark Link and about my supposed control over the elements, "Oh, for God's sake, all you did was use fire. You didn't use any other elements." I watched as Zelda's eyes widened. Pure shock and terror filled into them. Dark Link? Control over the elements? Jenna's body on fire? What the hell? Zelda said in a choked voice. "Zelda, my friend, I still don't quite understand it myself. That's why we are here. You, being a sage, almost as powerful as Ranru, we thought you could help," I said. Then my eyes lowered and turned towards the fireplace, staring down into the flames. "If I really have such power, I'm afraid I might not be able to control it." I heard Zelda rustle, then rise and walk over to me. She gently placed a hand on my shoulder, and I looked up at her, her blue eyes glowing with concern. "Don't worry, my friend. We will find out if such a power runs through your veins, and if you do, I will then help you master control over it." Smiling, she looked into my eyes, and a wash of calm ran through me. I looked back over at Link and established a connection between us. I began to talk to him telepathically. "Don't worry, my sweet love. Zelda knows what she's doing. I have full confidence in her abilities," Link said, his voice floating through my mind. "I believe you, my love. She always had such great abilities. I just hope that this isn't much on her," I called back to him. "Trust her, my wife. I know what she's doing," Link responded. "I love you, Link," I cooed softly into his mind. "I love you too, my sweetheart." I felt Link's presence fill into me as he warmed my body, warmed my soul, and at that point I was at peace. "Don't forget, my love, I will always be here for you." Saying a few more words, we broke our special connection and rejoined the speaking world. Zelda, Link, and I wrapped ourselves in our cloaks, called Impa to care for little Link, because why would you take care of your own damn child? And then headed out into the palace garden. We walked through the ankle-deep snow and sat down on the marble benches. Link sat next to me, and Zelda across from me. I wrapped my cloak tighter on my body, trying to keep out the chill. Then I directed my attention to Zelda. First off, we need to establish a connection between you and your power, Zelda finally said. Let's work with the fire element first. I want you to focus your mind. Clear of all thoughts and concentrate on a single flame, she said calmly. I closed my eyes and slowly my mind cleared of all thoughts. I felt the void open up around me, sending me into a darkness. I floated around in blackness, searching for the flame. I watched, waited, then suddenly saw a glow as a small flame begun to rise. Do you see it? Zelda inquired. Yes, I do, I responded as I watched the flame in my mind slowly start to dance. Now concentrate on it. Make it a part of you, Zelda stated again. I stared at the flame, focused on it, tried to make it a part of me. Then I reached out for it, tried to touch it. When my hand grazed over it, I felt a burning sensation and jerked my hand back. Ouch! Damn it! I cried as the flame flickered out and the void shattered. What happened? Zelda asked, watching me cradle my hand. It burned me when I tried to touch it, I returned angrily, cradling my throbbing hand. You physically felt something, but you didn't concentrate on it enough to control it. Let's try again. I cleared my mind of all thoughts and the void opened up around me once more. Again, I tried to concentrate on the flame that rose up in my mind, focusing on making it a part of me. This time I felt its warmth against my skin as it flickered wildly in front of me, as I slowly lowered my hands beneath it and taking it gently into my hands. I felt its heat on my palms as I slowly took hold of it. Then I brought it closer to me, peered into its reddish glow, saw my own reflection dancing among it. As I held the warm flame in my hands, it danced wildly across my fingers as it became part of me, a part of my very being. And how is this happening in the void exactly? How exactly did you get in the void? What did you do exactly that... why am I even giving this even a tiny bit of thought? Then I heard a voice call out to me, Jenna, look! I opened my eyes and saw an amazing sight. There on my fingertips were two flames dancing across them. My eyes grew big as I looked from Zelda to Link, who were just as wide-eyed as me. Oh my goddesses, I did it! I really did it! I cried as a tear ran down my cheek. Then it's true, you really do have elemental powers, Zelda returned with shock. I looked at her, then to my hands. I watched as the flames danced across my fingertips, its glow reflected off the palms of my hands. I played with it, moved my fingers around as the flames danced from one finger to another. I giggled at the flames moved my hands. I jumped when I flicked a finger. Then suddenly the flames flickered out, and a small fire rose in the palm of my hands. What happened? Zelda asked, worried. I looked at her slowly graying eyes, then faltered to the small fire on my hand. I just thought of a small fire in my hands, and then poof! The flames on my fingertips went out and rose up in my hands. Jenna? Zelda clasped her hand over her mouth. You really do have control over the elements! The power was really inside you all this time. It just took something drastic to happen in your life for it to activate. I stared at her wide-eyed, unable to move. You mean I was born with this ability? I said, my voice raspy from the shock. It's a possibility, or maybe something happened to you during your life where you acquired it from somewhere. Do you have any recollection of anything strange that happened before your encounter in the water temple? Zelda asked. I thought for a moment. Tried to remember if I had anything really strange happen before my encounter with Dark Link. But the only thing I remembered where something drastic ever happened to me was when my parents died. Nothing has happened that I remember. Only thing is when my parents died when I was a little girl, I returned somberly. Do you think your parents ever had any special abilities? Zelda questioned. Well, I remember when we would have dry spells on the farm where I'm from. My mother would sing to the sky and it would rain. I also remember my father was always good with the earth. Our farm was always prosperous. The crops my father grew were always the best in our village. I looked back down at the small glowing fire in my hands as the gentle warmth the chill from my body. Jenna, there is no other explanation. Your parents must have had some elemental powers, and it transferred to you. But both of them seem to only have one power, your mother with the power of water, and your father with the power of earth. But one thing still has me baffled. How did you become to possess the power of wind and fire? When the hell did she use wind? She only used fire in the temple at... Whatever, she's in her goddamn avatar mood, so fuck it. I watched the puzzled looks that appeared on Zelda and Link's faces. Never had they encountered someone in Hyrule with control over the elements, besides themselves. Stories of Hylians possessed elemental powers only existed in the dark ages of Hyrule. Most thought that the people who possessed such powers were thought to have died out hundreds of years ago. Stories foretold that if one who possessed power over the elements should ever show up in Hyrule, then the land will be truly blessed, protected by the one with power of the ancients. But no one ever thought the stories were true. It was thought to only be a myth. But now that one did show up, would this be Hyrule's great protector? With the thought of Ganon might somehow return, would I be the one to protect Hyrule from such darkness? I looked at Link and Zelda, who were staring at me with blank stares. I believe that when she was born, the powers of earth and water transferred from her parents, but she must have been born with her own set of powers. That would explain her power over fire and wind, Link added, his calm stare upon my face. Zelda just looked from me to him, her face expressionless. Then her gaze landed upon a small fire in my hands. Jenna, there are stories that once in the dark ages of Hyrule, there were Hylians that once possessed the power over the elements, but it was believed they all died in the time of the Great War of the Lands. This devastating war fell Hyrule hundreds of years ago, killing half of Hyrule's population. But it was believed that it was the Silverlights, or elemental users, that were the ones who saved Hyrule and ended the Great War. The stories also state that if a Silverlight should ever return to Hyrule, the land would be blessed with peace and prosperity. Zelda's gaze fell upon me, her expression warm yet serious. I'm not too sure if you could be a descendant of the Silverlights, but one thing is sure, you are an elemental user, Zelda said, her eyes reflecting the glow of the fire still burning in my hands. I think we should continue to train your powers, Jenna. We need to make sure you can fully control the elements. I nodded in agreement, but one thing flashed into my mind. Zelda, my friend, I have one question. I just thought of something. You said that my parents transferred their powers to me when I was conceived, but what about our son? Do you think it's possible that Link Jr. might have acquired the powers as well? I said as Link looked at me with shock. I'd never thought of that. Yes, it might just be possible, but he may still be too young to tell, even though if that is possible, though the Silverlights still existing is one of the greatest things to ever happen to Hyrule. Then Zelda's gaze shifted to Link. You truly have a very special wife, Link. A possible descendant of the great Silverlights, Zelda said happily. I watched as Link's gaze shifted to me. His powerful arms embraced me as his gentle lips kissed mine. For a moment I was in another world with Link's gentle kiss warmed my soul. I knew at that moment that even if I was one of the Silverlights, Link would always be with me, always by my side. I looked into Link's eyes one last time, then looked back to Zelda. The fire danced in my hand as if it was alive, causing her expression to change into a happy one. I giggled as I did tricks with my newfound power. I was now more than I had become. I became something different, someone of great power and legend. It was later determined that I was a descendant of the great Silverlight race. My powers were of the great elements. I was trained under Zelda and became someone of great power. Now I'm one of Hyrule's most powerful protectors, here to help the hero of time, my love, protect the land from evil. Under the training of the sages, I became one of the sacred realm, the one chosen by the goddesses to protect the legendary Triforce. I'm actually at a bit of a loss for words as to how to end this. I mean, you can tell how much a person is... You know what? This actually deserves its own separate video, but I'll talk about that at a later date. Next time, it's anniversary night, and you know what that means? I'll give you a hint. It involves tigers.